Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig from iProgress, and today I'm going to be talking you through why you should be writing 500 words a day during your PhD, irrespective of what stage you are at. Okay, so the first real thing that we should be getting into is why should you be writing 500 words a day? The thing is, with a PhD, the progress that you make is really self-driven. So if you can be making regular progress, hitting key milestones, then you're going to be working towards your longer term goal of bringing together your thesis. This particular strategy of writing 500 words a day comes from a school of thought known as slow productivity. The idea that you should be writing small bits or doing small tasks over time, which would eventually lead to bigger productivity gains over an extended period of time. Now for me, there's 4 reasons why you should be doing 500 words a day. It's an achievable task, first of all, but it will also help you with a range of different issues and a range of different difficulties that lots of people face during their PhD. The first one is that the PhD is a self-driven process. It's very much driven by what you can do in any particular day. Well, the PhD is very unpredictable in terms of the time that you dedicate to it, and if you don't really know what your schedule is going to look like, then you don't know ultimately what goals you're going to be reaching. So if you can set yourself a goal of 500 words a day, then you know that in a month's time you should have 10,000 words written at some point or in some form. That doesn't mean that you're going to be writing 15,000 words or 10,000 words or however many thousand words a month that are particularly going to go or specifically go into your thesis, but you know that you've got that material there that you can draw upon for other reasons. The second reason that you should be doing 500 words a day is that lots of people try and write everything in one go. They will sit down and try and write a paper or a chapter or half a chapter, and it's just not achievable in a particularly small period of time. If you can set yourself a goal of having 500 words written by the end of a day, 500 words is about 3/4 of a page of A4. It's very achievable to do that within a day. If you can do that, it maintains your habit of writing, which is really important. Developing habits and workflows is something that we are really keen to encourage. But if you can keep that habit of writing up over the course of 6 months or a year, you'll soon realize that you're building up this body of knowledge, this body of material that is moving you towards that thesis submission. Now, if you can also keep up with these minimum word count goals, then you are meeting targets as you go along, and that maintains your motivation over time. The third reason that you should be writing 500 words a day is that it develops your knowledge. Don't feel like you need to plan to write a chapter in that 500 words or to work on a particular area of a paper in that 500 words. What you can do is, if you're reading a paper, reading something that's been published, a book chapter maybe, or a journal paper, just write a 500 word summary of what you've written or what you've read. Now what you can do with that is you can turn that into a blog post, or you can use that in your library of notes that are related to the topics that you're writing about for your thesis. And then over time what you can do is you can bring that back together to contribute to a larger piece of work. Which brings us to the final and the fourth way that writing 500 words a day helps, is that you can then start to bring together all of your 500 word pieces and then stitch them together into a thesis chapter or a paper, or you can just use it as inspiration when you're writing a literature review. If you've got that material on hand, if you're consistently writing, consistently reading, that knowledge, that evidence base is going to be second nature to you, and you can use that to start to stitch together what your thesis looks like in time. What that ultimately means is that when you get closer to your thesis submission date, you're going to be less stressed, you're going to be more confident that you can meet that deadline, and it'll be a much simpler process, a much more stress-free process in terms of bringing together that final thesis. So they're the reasons that I think that everyone should be writing 500 words a day throughout their PhD, irrespective of the time of PhD they're at. If they're first year, second year, third year, or fourth year, you should be writing these 500 words a day, working on these slow productivity techniques so that ultimately you're meeting the goals towards the end of this process. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this has been useful. If you've got any tips for other PhD students or other PhD candidates, please put them down in the comment section below and we can share this knowledge together. We'll hope to see you in the next video.